welcome everybody to our May Executive Committee meeting. And we will start with attendance. I don't think Margaret Della did not think she was able to make it tonight. She will do the minutes from the recording. Okay. So I'll take attendance. Sylvia Alexander. Circle back. Bob Bender.
Here.
Kelly Buford. Kelly. I'll circle back. Lee Chung.
Present.
Margaret Della. Don't see her. Nick Fazio. David Gelman.
Just back in time, here.
Good. Rosemary Ginty.
Here.
Julia Gomez.
Here.
Ed Green.
Present.
Scott Croppinger.
Present.
Chuck Merdler.
Here.
Omar Murray.
Present.
I'm present. Camelia Tepelis. Deb Travis.
Present.
Sergio Villaverde. Marty Wolpoff.
Present.
Okay, I'm just circling back. Sylvia Alexander. Kelly Buford. Let's see, I think everybody else. Sergio Villaverde. Okay. So moving right along, we'll start with approval of executive committee minutes from April 10th, 2023. They were distributed. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Sorry, Laura. I'm sorry, I forgot to raise my hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, just one minor correction. Refers to
The date.
the District Manager Search Committee meeting on March 27th. We actually met on March 22nd.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I had noted that, but I'm glad you raised it. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Second.
Anyone opposed? Anyone abstaining? Rosemary, your hand is up for,
Opposed.
okay. Anyone abstaining? Okay, thank you very much. Let me just. Moving on to the chair's report. Let me just get my notes here. First, I want to say if there are no objection, I would like to add to the agenda tonight that we will vote to go into executive session at the end of this meeting under section 105F of the Open Meetings Law regarding the hiring of personnel. And I want to say I'm very excited to say that the search committee has just completed their vetting process, and we're bringing forth a candidate tonight to the executive committee. Bob will report on the process taken during item 4 on the agenda, district manager report. Are there any objections? Okay, seeing no objections, we'll add that to the agenda. I have some quick announcements and updates. One, the street naming for Bill Stone, our beloved board member, is taking place this Sunday, May 7 at 11 o'clock at the intersection of Hudson Manor Terrace and West 237th Street. I have a plea about the June calendar. Many committees don't meet in June, and we have a number of needs for dates, what with the nominating committee and other things that are coming up. So if your committee is not meeting in June, please notify the board office as soon as possible. Greatly appreciate that. Camelia, I see you have joined us. I don't know if I had you down. Sorry.
Laura, we do, I think we have a conflict for the June board meeting for the
Yes.
Philharmonic.
Yes, yes. Thank you, David. Our board meeting will be on June 29th, Thursday, June 29th. So that we don't conflict. And it's also a good thing for us because it allows us to finish with all the committees and all the resolutions, vote them out. And so that works for us. So I'm going to send out another notice and announce that constantly so that people save that date, June 29th. I know I did send out something earlier, but I'll keep reminding everybody.
Laura,
yes.
Sylvia came on.
Good. Yes. Thank you. Let me just make a note.
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
Okay. Very good. Okay. I just noted that. Let's see. I shared 2 documents that came from the mayor's office regarding neighborhood support teams. It's to form neighborhood teams to work on quality of life issues in the community. It's citywide, and it comes from a local law that was passed by the city council in 2016, requiring these quality of life neighborhood support teams to be established. It ran, I believe, in 2016 or 17-ish, and then it ended over the pandemic, and now the mayor has brought it back. What it involves is ask community boards, activists, nonprofits to send in requests for expression of interest to be considered for getting one of these neighborhood support teams. And so if we have issues with things that we have issues with, you know, in our committees, we know what those quality of life issues are. The committee chair would work with the office and send in what the problem is, documentation for the problem, what we've done for the problem. And that's that. The deadline for this request for expression of interest is May 31st. What I find puzzling about this is that they're establishing a new bureaucracy for quality of life issues, instead of just giving the Parks Department more money to, have more PEP offices, or give the police more money so we can have more police. It's these support teams, they don't get any extra money. They're working out of the pot that's already there. So, that's my feeling about it, but I did want to share it with everybody because someone, a committee chair may be interested in pursuing this. So that's that. And any questions, give a call. Some updates on board business. I shared the information that we got from the Department of Social Services being accessed to house 100 asylum seekers. And I did get some additional information. The program has already started. It is 100 asylum seekers. The group is co-ed. It is temporary. Now, when I asked temporary in terms of weeks, months, a year, really didn't get an answer. But ostensibly, it checks the box for temporary. The asylum seekers, the status that they hold has been vetted by the federal government. In order to qualify for the status, they went through vetting in that, from various offices. The move already started, began last month. And the provider that is being used is NAICA, which stands for the Neighborhood Association for Intercultural Affairs. Was established in 1974, and what I've been able to do a little research on them. They seem to have a fine reputation. Let's see. Regarding 6661 Broadway, the homeless shelter. It's been confirmed that the Department of Homeless Services, West Hab, and DSS will attend a Health, Hospitals, and Social Services Committee on May 31st. I think I distributed the Riverdale Press editorial, which called for an investigation on the doubling of the contract of West Hab, not to mention the nepotism. I do have, sorry to say, nothing to report on responses from city agencies when I and elected officials inquired about the status of West Hab. We strongly oppose that provider because in addition to all the other issues that I just mentioned, they seem to do a terrible job, scarily terrible. And so we're doing everything we can there. I'll keep you informed, but right now they are coming to the meeting on May 31st. This contract has not been received by the Controller's Office at this juncture. And I think there needs to be a city hearing and a Mox hearing, and I'm trying to set up an interview shortly with the Borough President's Office and others to discuss this, this process that does not pass the smell test. Okay, another item, School Construction Authority. They have been invited for the June 27th Education Committee meeting. They've confirmed attendance with the caveat that if the lawsuit is still in progress, they will have to abide by the recommendations of their legal counsel. But they have every intention of, and they feel it is their obligation to attend. They've made that. Let's see. Regarding 160 Van Cortlandt Park South, the latest notice from Tishman to the board is that they are preparing for demolition of the existing buildings on that property. And neighbors have been notified of, different issues, be it a street closure or, a loss of service of something. So that is my report.
Laura, on the issue of the immigrant housing, do you know if the city's taking over the facility or are they keeping the in business?
Won't be in business, I believe, while they're taking it over. I will check on that, but I don't think so. I didn't get that impression because when they take over something, they take over. But I will check, Marty.
Okay.
Okay.
Laura, Sergio
Yeah.
came back. Sergio came on.
Oh, very good. Thank you. Let me make a note of that. Welcome, Sergio.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, Scott with the treasurer's report.
Good evening, everyone. The executive committee packet included the May treasurer's report as well as two proposed resolutions. The first being the proposed budget modification for the remainder of this year. And the second being the projected 2024 operating budget. So starting with the May treasurer's report, we have an update of the salaries paid and personal services. And as you can see, OTPS, other than personal services, we have remaining $22,280. And in table 1.1, it shows we still have $16,968 in that holding code 499. And as I indicated last month, we needed to have a modification to distribute that money in order to spend it. So that's what we did. So the proposed modification is what I want to focus on next. Luke, if we can, or Deb, if we can bring that up. It's addendum A. Yep, there it is. So the proposal for the modification takes a large sum out of that OC 499, the general spending category, or the general cushion category, and moves it along with some other categories into object code 100, which is supplies and materials, which is general supplies and materials. we're putting that money into general supplies and materials code to accommodate a planned purchase of promotional item giveaways. Things like individual hand sanitizer, plastic dog bag holders, first aid kits, things that have our, the CB8 logo, hats, flash drives, tote bags, things like that. And we've been seeking out estimates thus far. As of today, we've received some estimates with respect to the individual hand sanitizer, the plastic dog bag holders, and the first aid kits. And they range from about $3,200 to $5,900, depending on how many items we order. We're still waiting on estimates for the hats, the folders, flash drives, and canvas tote bags. But just for reference, in 2017, we paid $2,500 for 1,000 canvas tote bags, $425 for 50 flash drives, $2,275 for 3,000 plastic rulers. So we estimate, that for the bags and the flash drives, it could be another $3,000 to $4,000, assuming costs have risen since 2017. And the hats could be another $2,000.
Yeah.
So the purchase of these promotional items could be around $12,000, depending on how many items we order and what we pick. So we want to put everything in that object code 100 because that's kind of the general object code, gives us the most flexibility on what to purchase, because we're still deciding on what exactly to spend it on. In addition, the modification puts $500 into the Do It line. That's 40B. Do It's, just to let you know, it's now called the Office of Technology and Innovation. It's OTI. But we plan on purchasing a portable hotspot system that would allow people to take it to meetings, and then users can access the internet through the cell signal it provides if there's no Wi-Fi where the meeting is. So the system, I think, is around $210, and the monthly cost is about $40. So you want to cover it in line 40B. And finally, with respect to the modification, we need to put another $1,000 into the contractual cleaning services to cover the last 2 months of the year. So with respect to the modification, the resolution states, whereas to support the work of the board office, a budget modification for fiscal year 23 has been prepared and is below. Be it resolved, Community Board 8 approves the budget modification in order to further support the work of the Community Board office. And then you have the details there. Finally, I'll just move to the addendum B. That was our projected operating budget for 2024. And this is largely modeled after how the money was allocated this year. Some minor changes. We bumped up that object code 100 from, I think it was 1,000 last year. We bumped it up to 2,500 this year. We also had to put more money into that Do It 40B phone line. And that was primarily upon recommendation of the office itself. Last year, we had about $2,500, and now they recommend around $5,000. And as you can see, we still have the $20,000 in object code 499, which is our traditional cushion. So this resolution states, whereas the treasurer and the chair of the board, Community Board 8, prepared a projected operating budget below for board's expenses for fiscal year 2024. Be it resolved that Community Board 8 approves the projected operating budget for fiscal year 2024. And those are my reports and my resolutions.
Thank you.
May I
Thank
ask
you.
a question?
Of course.
The media keeps talking about Mayor Adams taking money 3% or 4% from the agencies. Have you heard anything as to the FY24 proposed budget that you're going to have to give back that money?
I have not, and I don't want to. I've actually heard that it'll likely stay the same, our budget for next year, as it was this year. So I've
That's not what the
I have not
newspaper
heard that.
says.
Well, last year when they had the last PEG program to eliminate the gap, community boards were not affected. A few years ago, when we had a PEG and money was taken back, it ended up being restored to community boards. But we have enough if that were to happen. We always have some extra. We don't spend all the money traditionally. But no, I haven't heard. And we would be getting information on that directly from the BP's office.
Uh-huh. And as of right now, are we giving any large amounts back that we're not
They
using?
didn't take anything from us, so there's nothing to give back.
Uh-huh, I see. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvia. Let me see, put this up on the screen so I could see if there are any hands.
David Gelman's hands up.
I was gonna wait till after the vote, but since it's been raised, I'd mentioned this a couple of years ago. Given that we are gonna have a bunch of money, I think it would be worthwhile for us to get something that would identify board members as board members for events. Either like polo shirts like Pablo has one. I think he did that on his own, or vests or hats or name tags or something, so that when we go to events, people know that the community board is there, and hopefully encourages them to come up and speak to us and talk to us and ask questions or make comments or whatever. So it's just food for thought that I really think we should do something to that end.
Well, I'm with you, David, but Kira did some research on that, and she was told that we can't order items like shirts, things like that for board members. We
How about-
can't,
okay,
but
yes.
we're putting in a very nice order for hats. And if somebody walks by our table and takes a hat, I'm not calling the police.
Okay, possibly name tags, or would that fall under the same issue?
Name tags in what way?
That you pin onto your shirt for these events, individual. name
I
tag.
don't, that's not clothing, so I think that would be fine.
Okay,
I mean, I would imagine, but we'll talk offline about that.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
anything that helps the
Right.
community identify. board
No, I like the idea. I like the idea, but you know, we are ordering hats and that should be something. So,
Laura,
thanks, David. Any other hands up?
Laura?
Yeah.
With respect to going hybrid, when and if we ever do, we need to have name tags or placards for each board member to be visible on the Zoom. So should anticipate
Yeah,
that.
but I think we decided we were gonna do that with very heavy paper, the way we've done it in the past, that we just fold and they're not heavy to carry and that kind of thing. No, you're right. They did say that. We've always had them for officers. And the like, but yeah, we'll get there.
Laura, regarding the list of things to buy for as like giveaways, I'm not
Mhm.
sure USB drives are that commonly used anymore because the ports are different, the little flash drives. So just to throw that out there.
We should check on that. They were really popular when we gave them out in the past. They flew out. But you're saying that they may not have kept up with the technology? I'll make a
Well, the
note.
larger USB, I mean, I don't have hardly any device. I don't actually have any devices that use the regular USB, the larger one that those drives used to be, the flash drives used to be.
Okay,
So,
I'll make a note of that and check. Thanks, Deb.
yeah,
Okay.
do we need to pass this, these two?
Well, we'll vote on it at the full board. I don't think we're
Oh, right, exactly.
tonight, but it's just up for discussion. Going to my agenda, let's see. Okay. Bob Bender, you're on in place of district manager's report.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, so I just want to report on the district manager search. So the search committee was 3 people, Julie Reyes, Omar Murray, and myself. And I think this information was previously distributed, but just to make sure everybody knows about it, the DM position was quite widely advertised. It was advertised on City and State, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Indeed.com, and also on some email blasts that went out from the community board, including 2 other community boards. So in the end, we received 22 applications and resumes for the position before the closing date. These applications, the names and the addresses, including email addresses of the applicants, were all blacked out. so that the committee members did not know who the people were. And we did this simply to prevent unconscious bias. We did not know the gender or the ethnicity of the individual who was applying for the position. So the committee met for the first time on March 22nd. That was a an open meeting that was noticed ahead of time. It was open to the public. Other than the 3 committee members, the only people who attended that first meeting were 2 board members, Dan Paternak and Marty Wolpaw. There were no members of the public present for that meeting. We then met several times in April to interview candidates. At that March 22nd meeting, the committee members agreed on 4 candidates whose resumes seemed to be particularly impressive and whom we wanted to interview. And so we scheduled meetings throughout the rest of April, some of which had to be rescheduled. Those meetings were held in executive session. We opened the meeting with a roll call. We then made a motion to go into executive session. That took less than a minute, and the entire rest of the meeting was done in executive session for reasons of confidentiality of the applicants. These people, these 4 candidates, all are currently employed, and obviously we had to protect their confidentiality and not risk their employment status. So the meetings generally ran about 45 minutes. At those meetings where we interviewed the candidates, Laura Spalter, the board chair, was present, as well as the 3 committee members. When we chose one candidate that we thought had both a superior resume and also was exceptional in that person's presentation, we invited that candidate back for a second meeting. Scott Krumpinger attended that meeting as well. And at the end of that meeting, we agreed unanimously that that was somebody that we would recommend to the community board. So I'm very pleased to say that we do have a candidate. And as Laura said, at the end of the meeting, we're going to vote to go into executive session. The candidate will be present, and we will be able to present the candidate to everybody. But I'm very pleased with the outcome. I thought it was, we got somebody, quite honestly, better than I expected we would get. So I'm very pleased, but you'll all make up your own minds later on.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. Committee resolutions. Okay. We can put them up on the screen. Okay, we're starting with the Housing Committee resolution. Lee, you're welcome to present.
Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's mainly talking about the amalgamated houses. They came to our last meeting on April 24th, and I'd say close to 100 people from Amalgamated attended, and the main thrust of the meeting was that they are in a financial situation and they need us to push the city to extend the compliance period so they can work out getting a loan that's affordable to them. Otherwise, they're going to be non-existent. And that's in essence what we're asking. And we're also saying Amalgamated is not the only housing development we assume in this situation. And we want DOB to look at every single impacted development so they can comply without severe penalty to their livelihood. And that's that. And it was passed unanimously by me and Julie.
Thank you, Lee. Any
And by the
discussion?
way, FYI, you should know that I've been informed, and I think Laura also got copies, but the residents of Amalgamated have been sending emails to the office saying that the full board must support this resolution. So I'm going to let you know that on at the full board, there's going to be a large contingent of amalgamated housing residents present.
Good.
you.
Lee, I also believe, the news article I sent you, this need for assistance or, time limit adjustment is going around, the city council as well. So we're on trend here,
Right.
right?
And I haven't heard anything from Eric Dinowitz's office about this, and they actually told me when I asked them about the forum, which is on local law 97, which Amalgamated is not even talking about because they're dealing with local law 152. I asked them, would they include 152 in their forum? And she said they don't think so, but she'd get back to me, and I haven't heard from her.
Okay, yeah, they're related. They build on one another.
Yes, right.
Definitely. Thank you, Lee. Any
Well-
other comments?
David has his hand up.
And then Bob. Okay, David.
Yes, I know they're fairly complex, but if you could insert a half sentence, one sentence on what 152 is and possibly 97 as well. I think we
Well,
should
this isn't
understand.
about what this, David, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna insert 97 because
Fine, then
Yeah.
152, if you could explain it in the body here, so we know what we're voting on, because I know sort of conceptually, but I couldn't explain it to anybody.
you can't explain the fact that DOB requires an inspection of the gas pipelines in the building.
Where does it say that?
No, I'm saying you can't understand that. I mean, you must have read the law somewhere.
But it's not in the resolution that we are gonna be voting on.
Okay, just to satisfy you, David.
Thank you, Lee.
You're,
Okay. Bob.
Yeah, Lee, I'm not entirely clear on what this carve out means. Can you clarify that for me, please?
what carve out?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What carve out?
In the be it resolved clause, where you say,
Oh. No, Amalgamated is stating that they have been trying to get financing to do all this work. And
mhm,
Ed can actually address a lot of it since he lives there. But they have had difficulty with their state supervising agency, HCR. And they just need more time because their deadline is actually July 1st, which is why they're saying their gas lines are going to be turned off.
right,
If they don't, start work or show some movement.
right. No, I follow that completely.
Oh,
My
okay.
question is, in the be it resolved clause, you say, we ask that our elected officials contemplate legislation of a carve out in local law 152 within 6 months of notice of non-emergency deficiencies. It sounds like you're asking for extra time,
Yes,
but it doesn't say how much time they have.
it depends
once-
on this individual development and how much time they need in getting the necessary financing.
We have till July 1st.
We made it specifically open. And I think Julie can address any issues if I'm wrong about that, because she was at the meeting.
We have till July 1st.
Right,
Right. No, I understand the specific problem with amalgamated, but this is a broad be it resolved clause that's
Yeah.
not specifically about amalgamated. And so that's why I'm asking, are we just asking for 6 months more time than what? Than what period of time?
for any development. We don't know what others, because they haven't come before us and they may not live in Community Board 8. But that's why we're asking for a carve out. If, say, for argument's sake, discussion's sake, Co-op City says they can't meet it, but they need another extra 9 months. So there needs to be a carve out. There needs to be an agreement between the city and the co-op or the rental, because their rentals are included, rent stabilized buildings, HDFCs, limited equity co-ops, that they can do it in a timely fashion that suits their individual needs. So it's open-ended.
Lee, maybe a different word or something in addition to carve out that might give more meaning to what you mean.
I don't even think the word carve out is used in there.
Yes, it asks that our elected officials contemplate legislation of a carve out in local law 152 within 6 months of notice of
Oh,
non-emergency.
I see. I'm sorry. I didn't see that when I'm looking at the one above it.
Right. So perhaps a little bit of, a little extra on what you mean.
Okay.
Yes, that's exactly my question. I'd just like a clarification of what carve out means in this context.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Lee.
You're welcome.
thank you, Bob. Chuck,
In compliance with the rules of the Conflict of Interest Board, I call your attention to the last paragraph involving HDC, of which I serve as a member. To avoid any conflicts, I will recuse myself from a vote, but I will tell you that if, as I understand may be the case, there is an attempt by the city of New York to provide additional funding directly or indirectly for housing authority projects, I will make this an amendment to any such application and will fully support it with every bit of energy that I have.
Thank you.
thank you, Chuck. Ed,
Yeah, Lee, I just had a real quick question. So here at Amalgamated, we received a flyer under our door for a meet and greet with the elected officials, Jeffrey Dinowitz, Eric Dinowitz, and Adriano Espaillat for this Saturday at 2 a.m. right here at Vladeck Hall.
Oh.
It makes no, I mean, all it literally says is meet and greet with our elected officials. It makes no reference to anything to do with this particular incident, local law 152, 97, any of that. So is it your understanding that this is going to be the form, or was it, I mean, because if this is the form, the language in this is flyer they've sent out gives no indication that this is what we're going to be convening for with our elected officials.
This is the first, Ed, I'm hearing about this. No one mentioned it at the meeting. When did you get this flyer? When did you?
I think it came under my door yesterday or the day before.
Oh, I don't know anything. Have you contacted or anyone contacted the elected officials to find out what this meet and greet was all about?
Not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. It's for Saturday. I'm going to be there regardless, but I mean, I think if it is about this particular, because, you know, at the last meeting, we discussed having a public forum on this with our elected officials, and then boom, here it is, Saturday,
did-
May 6th.
But-
no,
no.
Lee, what's the date of the Dinowitz, and the community board is also a sponsor?
May
It's
16th at
May
6:30.
16th.
16th.
That's a set date, May 16th for this
Yes,
issue?
yes.
Okay, so then maybe this is something completely unrelated.
Oh, yeah, this is something completely different, unrelated, and the flyer for the 16th, we just inquired, is not out yet. We'll send out that flyer, you know, as soon as we get that flyer. No, this is separate.
I'm sure they're gonna bombard them with the same type of questions at this meeting if they're all gonna show up, but I'll keep.
Good.
And this is an
posted on
open
that.
meeting. This is an open meeting, and what time is it?
2 p.m. Saturday, May 6th.
Oh,
Is it on Zoom? Oh, no, it's at Vladeck Hall.
It's at Vladeck Hall,
Right,
correct.
right.
That's it. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ed.
thank you.
Laura, I can't raise my hand. I just want to ask one thing of Lee.
Sure.
So Lee, is it possible, so that lastly, be it further resolved that folks were having confusion about with the carve out? Is it,
Uh-huh.
I would suggest that maybe think about combining it with the first, therefore be it resolved, because it seems like those two things are very
I
similar.
agree with you. This is what happens when multiple people work on a resolution.
And then also whether you want to limit the carve out or the opportunity for a carve out to affordable housing of any type, or whether it's all housing that's impacted. I wasn't sure what your intent was.
It's all other similarly impacted. So I would think it would be, well, I made the assumption that it would be housing that was in a financial or economic similar situation to Amalgamated. So I'm not talking about market rate condos who have a reserve account of several $1 million, who don't have a need for an extension.
So maybe it's good to just simply call that out as well as other developments that are financially incapable fulfilling the requirement within the 6-month time period or whatever, just to be really specific, because, you know, people might want to use this to take advantage to avoid doing any of the.
Well, what I can do is in the sentence, therefore be it resolved that paragraph where it says all other similarly impacted developments, put in parentheses, HDFCs, limited equity co-ops, Mitchell Lamas, rent stabilized housing. Does that make sense to you, Deb?
Yeah, you could do it that way, or I mean, it depends. If it could be that you also want to help market rate housing who just don't have any kind of reserve fund at the moment, because there's a lot, you know, everyone's having to do a lot of capital work because of local law 97.
But
So-
I have a feeling the market rate don't have a problem getting financing.
Everybody has trouble getting financing right now. So the interest rate is very high. And, you know, if you're not in the right place in your mortgage cycle, you're not in that, you know, they're all 10-year mortgages. So if you're just not in the right place, you're going to have some issues.
So then maybe I should just eliminate the word all other similarly and just write all impacted developments.
Like financially, yeah, like
All
financially unable
impacted.
to complete the work. within.
Financially distressed?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I'll make it more generic. So it
Yeah.
should be all financially distressed
Or
development.
put vulnerable, because distress means something else.
Which one? What do you?
Don't-
Oh, I'm
was
sorry,
gonna
Lee.
say, yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. I was just suggesting not to use distress, because that means something much more serious, but say potentially vulnerable, because they are vulnerable to not being able to refinance.
Right.
Okay, potentially vulnerable.
Because this is several $1 million, right? The amalgamated issue.
Oh, yeah, several million because.
Many, many, many millions of dollars. and that's just
Impacting
what the rate is.
800, it's impacting 800 units.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
Thank you, Lee.
thank you. Charles, Chuck,
Chuck, is your hand up from before?
he's muted.
I'm back.
Okay,
Hands up from before, I apologize.
okay.
Okay,
Okay, lower your hand. So, thank you, everybody, for the comments. Like we say, it takes a village. And, if we're ready, we'll move on to the next resolution, which is the affordable housing resolution. Chuck had sent in some additions today. And I'm sure it's all here. Chuck, you want to begin?
This is the resolution as it was amended by the members of the Land Use Committee during the course of the meeting. It was adopted with 5 affirmative votes and 4 people who wanted to be recorded as abstaining. There is one paragraph in here, and I'm trying to, can you focus down a page, please, Luke? Stop.
Also, it's Deb.
Yeah, Deb is working this.
Deb? No wonder it's done with such grace.
Exactly. You and I are one today. Sure.
One of paragraph number 6. Bob Bender very wisely observed that this is because of the focus that some people have placed on just the eminent domain aspect of it, that this is the kind of an issue that ought first to be addressed by the city council because of its sweeping nature, and that maybe we ought to first have them address it before anybody else. That subject has not come up, and I think that's absolutely correct. And so I put together a revision of that one, which I will put in as my amendment to the amendment. Deb, could you pull up I sent that into the board.
The other version, that's the red line version, right?
No, he sent something.
No, it's just next page, Deb. Just keep scrolling. It's
Oh,
next
it's just the
page.
next page? Oh, okay.
Yes.
We got several different.
Paragraph 6, just paragraph 6. It takes out any reference to anything involving eminent domain. And what it does in its place is to ask the city council to take a good hard look after they have identified what publicly owned properties have been, or privately owned properties have been abandoned or not used for an extended period of time. I thought, I know I sent it to the board.
Keep,
It is right next page, Debs. Just scroll. Exactly.
Yes, there it is. HPD and the New York City Housing Development Corporation. Why did I put them in? I put them in for the very simple reason that this is, at the end of the day, going to require financing, and they're the financing arm. Shall identify such non-publicly owned family properties in the city as are without good cause underutilized for an extended period of time and could efficiently be made available for affordable housing, and shall propose to the city council a program to utilize such premises for affordable housing upon just and appropriate terms for their intended use. That would allow the city council to take a look at it and recommend that they do take a look at what you can do without saying what the remedies are. Let them come up with it. I think you'll get a greater area of support for it if that is done. So there's the resolution. Other than that, with the relatively minor corrections that were made at land use, that is the proposal.
so at the full board, Chuck, you will say that you want to put the latest insert that you just read
Right.
instead of number 6.
Instead of number 6.
Yes,
correct.
okay, and that change will happen at the board.
Right.
Right, okay. Any comments, any questions? Let me see.
Laura, may
Camelia and then Lee.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Hold on, let me turn my camera. Yes, thank you, Mr. Morgan, for making the observation that I also wanted to raise, that city council should have a stronger role on this, as essentially these are things that need to be approved by local legislation. But my question here was, as in terms of your process on this particular paragraph that you are replacing, and you are replacing it after vote of land use, right? And the interesting thing that has kind of catches my eye is this issue you already disclosed, obviously, and several times before, affiliation with HDC as a board member, one of 6 board members, and this particular paragraph specifically refers to that
You
agency
are
for the
right.
first
I
time.
hereby will strike
Sir.
HDC. That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you. So you're saying that you will remove that agency from the version going to full board?
Yeah, I'm going to make the change at the board.
Thank you. And then also just an explanation for me to understand, sir, because of course the discussion on eminent domain and taking over quote unquote non-publicly owned properties, meaning private properties. But then, sir, wouldn't these agencies that you grant so much power, HPD in particular, how to say, why don't they come to us and say, hey, couple of properties in Fieldstone, we'll give you some money and take your properties away, and let's build a couple of 20 stories high buildings, or in SNED, or etc. So don't we expose ourselves to vulnerability in that sense if we grant them this type of overarching power, including over the power of
It
other
wasn't like that when I was a
agencies?
kid. You got a certain amount of money.
This is what I was asking, sir.
Spend it on everything, anything that was cold.
Who is
Who's
that?
speaking? Who's speaking?
Somebody was unmuted.
Oh, yeah, somebody was unmuted. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sir, were
Yeah,
you
I think
able
it was,
to
I think
to
it
hear
was
my
iPhone.
question?
I know, I think it was iPhone. I muted them. There was just
Okay.
background noise.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, continue.
No, I don't know if Mr. Morler was able to hear my question as far as making ourselves vulnerable by granting HBT this overarching power of taking over, of suggesting conversion of private properties
It's not
into how,
in here.
yeah.
If you heard it and read it, this and listened before, I said the concept is not before you under this amendment. I took it out because it is something that city council ought to consider. There may be other approaches. And why is it HPD? Because under New York law, it is the principal agency for dealing with housing. I don't think it's appropriate for the sanitation department nor environmental protection.
No, sir, I was not saying that. I think the objection on the special expertise of individual agencies was discussing in land use and we kind of moved on. But what I'm asking you is, how to say, don't we make ourselves vulnerable to HPD coming in and saying, hey, Fieldstone and SNAD, we think you are underutilizing land. Let's build 10 blocks of 10 stories each. This is what I'm asking.
It is
Maybe
not,
I'm wrong. I'm asking you.
I
Sorry.
don't have an idea of what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying, what your question is.
Okay,
If-
I will
if-
just, yeah.
If I may, Camelia,
Yeah.
if you notice, it says non-publicly owned multifamily properties and that the HCC will identify them. Doesn't mean that they are going to waltz in and take over. They're just going to identify the properties to be considered. And that's the
Sure.
extent of it.
Sure, David, but again, here's a big plot of land called SNAD where there are private homes or
Are there
Fieldstone.
any multifamily properties in SNAD?
I believe there are in Fieldstone. So it was just a question to clarify, sir. If you believe that this is not a vulnerability of your proposal, I trust your judgment. Yes, and I appreciate you removing HDC from there. I was just trying to understand if you consider this or not.
First of all, I don't believe that the COIB has anything to do with the issue of what is drafted the resolution. But putting that aside, I'm just acting out of an abundance of caution. I put it in, it can come out, it will come out when I put it to the board. The issue here is simply to have the issue considered by the legislative body as to whether or not it's. Bob was 100% right. I was remiss in saying that this is something that really requires the oversight attention from the council, and the council should do that. Do that being, take a good hard look at what are you going to do in connection with vacant apartments that have been such for an extended period of time. And there's no good cause. Understand, that's a very important omission. No good cause. So for example, an apartment may be taken off the market while it's being renovated. Can be taken off the market because the landlord intends to use the apartment for himself or his family. All a good cause. All right.
Okay, everybody. So,
Laura?
and-
Laura,
Lee?
please. Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
want clarification for David. My third whereas defines local law 152. Go up, there it is. The third whereas local law 152 of 2016 requires that commencing on January 1st, 2019, building gas piping systems shall be periodically inspected at least once every 5 years. I think that's enough explanation. David, you think that's adequate?
We good?
I guess so. He's not responding.
I think maybe he's muted.
I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute, excuse me. I'll have to look at it. I mean, that is certainly helpful. But I'd have to read through the whole thing and I'll look at it. I don't want to hold people up right now. But it is helpful.
Okay. Very good. We can move on then to the next resolution. All right, so let me take the names off. I won't be able to see who's raising hand, but I'll be
Oh.
able to read this.
Laura-
Okay.
Laura, one quick thing. I
Sure.
don't know if you noted Sergio Villaverde and Kelly Buford are both here.
Oh, Sergio, I noted, but I didn't see Kelly, so thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, so this is a hybrid resolution renewal. You may recall that back in May 10th in 2022, we passed a resolution in accordance with New York State's open meetings law that authorized Bronx Community Board 8 and its committees to adopt the hybrid model at their discretion. Then that called for review in 6 months, which we did on November 10th, 2022. This original resolution, which will be attached to what goes out at the full board, it should have been attached, was reviewed and renewed by the board on November 10th, 2022. And that resolution called for a vote that takes place no later than May 2023. So here we are. I'll just read it from here. Whereas under state law, okay, so whereas this resolution was reviewed and renewed by the board on November 10th, 2022, with the provision that another review and vote take place no later than May 2023. And whereas under state law, the hybrid model requires that board members must attend meetings in person unless qualifying for an exemption under extraordinary circumstances. And whereas the board passed a resolution on February 14th, 2023, approving a procedures guide, which established guidance and process for members seeking to utilize this exemption. And whereas while the board has experienced some success in using the hybrid model from our office, the ability to fully implement the hybrid option has been hampered in outside venues by inadequate technology and lack of technical support. And whereas to date, implementation and feedback regarding the hybrid model has been extremely limited due to the mayor's emergency executive order number 210 that permits community board meetings to continue to be held remotely on a month-to-month basis. Therefore, be it resolved that Bronx Community Board 8 renews its May 10th, 2022 resolution, extending our adoption of the hybrid model with the condition that the resolution be reviewed within 1 year, but no later than May 2024 by a vote of the board. I think 6 months is, I don't know what's going to happen in June, whether we'll be fully on Zoom. Then we have the summer. Then before you know it, we'll be renewing again. So I say give it a year, up to a year. Are there any comments?
Laura,
Questions?
one thing I would like to suggest is that right now it says within 1 year, but no later than May. And right now, I guess I think it would be better if it said May 31st. But I understand that May 3rd technically kind of counts as no later than May.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's going to be probably the May meeting of 2024, whenever that may be.
Right.
So I didn't think it was necessary to put a date. I could, doesn't matter.
It gets rid of any gray area, I guess.
Okay, May 31st. That's fine. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? We're pretty much in the same place of not knowing very much. And hopefully the hotspot will work. It's not guaranteed to work everywhere, by the way. But we are endeavoring. So any other, let me put up now the participants thing.
Laura,
Chuck, your hand is up. Now I have you up. Yeah.
I have a concern as a matter of simple fairness. The statement concerning the mayor, namely that it was hampered by his extension of it. I think everybody here, or at least a majority, would agree we were aided by the mayor's thing. And I'm not sure we ought to criticize him in that way.
Right. Yeah. No, it wasn't meant to be critical. It was meant to be, we're in the same place. We haven't tried anything out. We don't know it because we haven't been forced to do it.
Why don't you say impacted?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Has been limited due to me. that, yeah, okay, we've been impacted. Thanks.
Impact is not a transitive verb.
What do you mean, David?
Affected.
Impacted works as well.
No, it doesn't.
It does, David, but it's okay. We can disagree.
It
It's
does.
not a transitive verb.
Okay, it's used every day, and so usage is usage.
So that's the whereas the option has been, it doesn't really, matter to me. I see what you mean. You don't want hampered because it sounds like a criticism, and we're certainly not criticizing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Has been, but I mean, it's true, the to date implementation and feedback regarding the hybrid model has been extremely limited due to the mayor's emergency exit, which permits community board meetings to continue to be held remotely.
People in this day and age are very sensitive.
Mhm.
I don't think he warrants criticism on this ground.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. Figure that out. Any other hands or comments on that one? Then we move to the SAPOs. Sylvia.
Right. This is kind of backwards. The Amalgamated Nursery School has a spring festival block party each year. The one that's on the screen now is for June 4th, which is really the rain date of the different resolution, which I also handed in for May 21st as the actual, there it is.
Okay.
So, okay, so they are going to have it on May 21st, and they are going to need a street closure, which will take place on Gale Place between Orloff and Cortlandt Park South. It'll be closed from 9 a.m. to set up and until the breakdown at 4:30. They have had it in the past. It has been successful, and the committee unanimously passed it. Of course, for the meeting, I will change it to say that Bronx, if you vote for it, that it's Bronx Community Board 8 approves.
Okay. Any questions? Okay, Chuck, is your hand up from before? Bob, is your hand up? Okay,
Now, my hand is up for this one. So
okay.
in the event of a rain date, they actually have to put in a separate SAPO application. Is that
They
right?
did do that, yes.
Okay. No, I didn't realize that was necessary. Okay, thank you.
Right. There was one more. Unfortunately, the office kind of dropped the ball in informing the participants in these SAPO applications to come to the meeting. Rabbi Shem Tov, well, Ms. Johnson was called, somebody called from the committee to have her come over, but Rabbi Shem Tov did not appear. I took the liberty of having a vote anyway because he's been doing it for over 25 years. And it's going to be on May 9th, which of course is the meeting, general meeting for approval from the board. But I was told by the office that the police does the religious street closings. I don't know if that's true. I'm hoping and keep my fingers crossed that that is true. And the street closing will take place on West 235th Street between Independence Avenue and Douglas Avenue from the setup to the breakdown at 9 o'clock. And I'll do the same thing, changing it to the Bronx Community Board 8.
Thank you, Sylvia. I will check this out tomorrow with the office. I did learn, that does not excuse anything, that from now on, regarding SAPOs put in by religious institutions, that they no longer need to come to a committee.
Oh,
That's what I have just learned. Moving forward, but this was already arranged before we got that directive, and we certainly, I will check on that. Sorry, Sylvia.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think
Going
that
forward, we won't, and send it to a committee.
right, I realize that Kira used to do it for the board, and I'm sure that she must have followed up before the meeting to make sure that someone was coming from that group.
Yes,
This time it was not done. It was just an email sent. They never responded, and there was no follow-up whatsoever. So I'm just bringing that up.
thank you.
It's very difficult to do these things in the, a vacuum.
Right. Okay, we can go on to the next one. If there's no other questions. Why don't I have this in front of me?
Riverdale Y Sunday Market.
July 3rd, yes, right, no, I see it. Sometimes I have trouble seeing the screen. I have things in hard copy and I can't find them. I got it. I'll present on this one. Shira Silverman from the Riverdale Y came before the committee with a SAPO application for July 30th, 2023. The street closure will take place at Johnson Avenue between West 235th Street and West 236th Street in the Bronx, from 9 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It has been held in the past. It was approved unanimously by the Land Use Committee. They do the market, of course, at the Riverdale Temple for most of the year, but seasonally, like they did one in the spring and now they'll do one in the summer. Every couple of months, they like to get more people involved and they do it on Johnson. It was very successful when they did it, I think, a few weeks ago. So any other questions about that? Okay, so we can move on then. This is another SAPO. This came from TNT, right? Kelly, you're on.
Hi, good evening, everyone. This is a request for full street closure on Riverdale Avenue from 258 to 259 to conduct a block party. Last year, the Riverdale Main Street Alliance had a block party, but it was only sidewalk only. They came back, they want to do the block party again this year. However, they're requesting full street closure. The committee expressed concern regarding buses and how that would be handled. And so we are recommending that they come back to us with a plan for buses and also to ensure that they have the 15-foot lane plan in place. Does anyone have any questions?
We'll be looking forward to tabling at this event. And a lot of these events. We have a lot of goodies to give away. Okay.
Laura,
yes.
before I yield, I noted that you just mentioned that SAPOs for religious organizations are no longer required to come before a committee. So that Church Without Walls that was supposed to come before the TNT committee at the April meeting, then we will remove that from our May agenda as we wanted them to come.
I believe so. Yes, I'll let you know if not, but we just got a directive and they are a church group. So I don't believe they need to come and we don't need to comment. So.
Okay, thank you. I see
for
David.
bringing that up. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see David's hand is up.
Yeah, Laura, did you get sort of the other half of that? That's to say, they don't have to come before a committee, but do they still have to come before the board? Or can they just go to the SAPO office, ask for the permit, and we may not know about it? Or do you need to find that out still?
I could check on that. The director said that religious institutions no longer need to go to a committee. But we should be notified because we do get lists. But thank you. I'll check on that.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Notification to board. Okay. I think that's it on the SAPOs. You know, when the
Deb's hand is
weather
up.
comes, we get a ton of them. And there'll be more on, I think, other agendas next month. So thank you to all the committee chairs who took on a SAPO and helped us out.
Laurel, one question on one SAPO was the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center, because I think their event is June 17th, or the first farmer's market.
Oh,
That's what my hand's up for.
yep. Yeah, Ed,
Okay.
Ed Green, you're next. I have you down. First of all, you have to explain about you know, the resolutions you're going to be bringing forward at the full board. And you got this, SAPO. So go ahead, Ed.
Okay, so Public Safety Committee did not have a quorum at our last meeting, so we were unable to have an official vote. So I plan on bringing several resolutions to the floor of the next full board meeting. The first one is a SAPO. It's a farmer's market from the James Baldwin Outdoor Learning Center. The applicant's name is Ray Pultinas. The location is going to be at Goulden Avenue between Sedgwick and West Marshallville Parkway South. We've held this event before, I believe it's 3 times since August 2020. And I'm going to bring that up at the full board for a vote since we weren't able to vote on it officially at our committee. We had 4 other resolutions, 2 renewal SLAs and 2 new application SLAs. The new applications, one was for liquor, wine, beer, and cider full liquor license for the Johnson, which is a diner located at 3533 Johnson Avenue. It was previously Blue Bay was there. And the owners, they did sign a closing agreement, 2 a.m. closing agreement, and agreeing to close the establishment by 2 a.m. And the second new application was for China 21 Restaurant, which is going to be at 35-11 Johnson Avenue. And they also signed a 2 a.m. closing agreement. And the renewals, one renewal is for Bronx Ale House at 216 West 238th Street. And the 50th precinct had no issues with any of these locations or establishments. And all of them had, you know, the public, even though we couldn't vote on it, we reached unanimous consensus that we wanted to bring this up at the full board, and this should be approved by the full board. So the last one has a little bit of a wrinkle in it, which I wanted to bring up. So the last one is a renewal for wine, beer, and cider for Moss Cafe located at 3260 Johnson Avenue. So there was no issues as far as the 50th was concerned, but their problem is their license actually expired on April 30th. This was after our meeting, but they have an expired license now, and it necessitates a waiver of the 30-day notification requirement by the board as per SLA's guidelines. So we did this recently in the past, a couple of months ago with P&K's Grill, and you know, they basically dropped the ball and you know, waited too long. So I'm going to bring this up, you know, not only for an application approval, but for the board to waive the 30-day notification requirement. And we are, you know, we've been in discussions with SLA, and they've advised us that this is the way to go. As long as the board waives the 30-day notification requirement, they're not going to have any objection to renewing the license. So those are the 5 that I'm going to bring from the floor at our next full board meeting. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Ed? Okay, thank you, Ed. Let's see. Moving on, I think we finished all the resolutions. Thank you, everybody. And committee member issues for discussion. Are there any issues for discussion? Okay, are there any follow-up on outstanding issues? Okay, so we will now vote to go into executive session regarding open meetings law 105.f and
Laura, if I may, just, sorry, just to backtrack slightly. Everybody, I just sent you the compilation of our budget request. Please take a look at it.
Oh, yeah, David, go ahead. You want to talk about that?
Very briefly, just please take a look at it. And again, it's just a first pass. There's no pride of authorship. We'll talk about it at another time, but take a look at it. And if you have any particular questions, please feel free to comment back to me. Thank you.
I have to admit, I didn't even get a chance to look at it today, David.
I know, it was very late. I got some edits yesterday, so I got it out as quickly as I could.
Right. Are now 100% of the committees in your on your list now done?
Yes.
Are you still waiting?
No. Everything got in by last night.
Okay, all right, so
Thank
we'll
you.
talk offline. Thank
Oh,
you.
yes, absolutely.
You got a hand up, Laura.
Camelia. Right.
Yes, thank you, Laura. David, I'm sorry, just quick question. I already sent you a feedback, but just for me to understand, the final approval from the board will be at the May meeting or at the June meeting?
October meeting.
It's
October
really the
meeting.
October meeting. This is all
Excellent.
sort of
Thank you.
preliminary.
Thank you.
Again, first pass.
Yeah, no, I already sent you a feedback for my committee. Thank you.
Yeah. That's a big task, getting the whole list together. And then it gets rearranged. Okay, so let me finish what I started here. I'm asking for a vote to go into executive session based on Open Meetings Law 105.f, governing the hiring of personnel. So at this point, I'll ask Deb to, oh wait, we have to vote. Is there anyone opposed to going into executive session? Anybody opposed? Okay, anyone abstaining? Okay, so unanimously we vote to go into executive session, and Deb now will take everyone who's not on exec, with the exception of Julie, because Julie's on the search committee. I would like Julie to remain for this segment.
Okay, so one question, there is somebody called iPhone. Is the person who's iPhone, are you on the chair of one of the committees? If not, I'll put you into the waiting room for the executive session.
Thank you, Deb.
All right, off to the waiting room.
Deb,
And then,
is that me? Huh? Yeah, I think that's me.
What?
Are you iPhone, Omar?
you
Yeah,
iPhone,
I'm on
Omar?
iPhone. Yeah, I'm on iPhone.
Gotcha. All right,
Okay, you're
gotcha.
back. Okay. All right, and there's also, let's see, Sergio.
Zablowski.
Deb,
Mr.
I'm seeing,
Zablowski.
Deb, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm seeing Omar and I'm also seeing iPhone as two separate screens.
All right, so I think the person on iPhone needs to say something, or just because I'm on iPhone also. But if you're seeing me, that means,
Yeah, we're seeing
Yeah.
you separately from iPhone.
yeah, that means maybe put that person in the waiting room then.
Yep, yeah, we're seeing you separately. So, okay, I'm gonna put them back in the waiting room.
So
We're all set now.
the
Wait,
executive
one
committee,
moment, just a second, make sure I got
Stop
everybody.
the recording. Remember to stop the recording.
all right, so only the executive committee plus
Uh,
Julie Reyes.
Eric, Kelly. So just to confirm, so me, Bob, you, Kelly, Sylvia, Chuck, Camelia, David, Ed, Julia, Julie, Lee, Martin, Marty, Omar, Rosemary, Scott, and Sergio. That's who's in the call right now.
Okay, and everybody else is in the waiting room?
There's one person in the waiting room who's the candidate.
Okay, and have we stopped the recording?
Thank you. And if
I've
there's
admitted Farah back into the room just because she was the only person in the waiting room. So everybody in the waiting room is back in the meeting.
okay. All right, so everybody is back in the meeting. In time for us to say good night. I think, is there any other comments or otherwise, we have finished our business tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a
Second.
second?
Second.
All right, I want to wish everybody a wonderful evening And thank you for all this discussion tonight and help with all the resolutions and everything. I don't get a chance to thank the committee chairs and the officers, for all the work that you do. And I want to take this opportunity to say, I really appreciate all the stuff you read, look at, comment on. So everybody have a great night. Thank you. Okay, good night.
Night.